All right, so again, this is a rectangle. There is a way to prove based on the information I've given you, the markings I've given you. I'm just telling you it's a rectangle. What is congruent using those letters? There are some that are pretty easy and some a little bit more of a stretch to remember, but what's an easy one? Scott, what's congruent in that figure? Use the letters when you're telling me. Well, E is just one letter, first of all, and I want sides, not E would be an, actually, you couldn't even say an angle because you wouldn't know which angle you were talking about. You just said. Okay, BC. So BC is congruent to what? Good guess. Standard rectangle. BC is congruent to what? I even have marking. You don't know what congruent means? All right, well, that's something you need to know for this next quiz. So BC, Mia said it. BC, I've given you this. I put the marking in there. BC is congruent to AD. So that should have been one of them that you wrote up. Don't know where it is. Okay. So BC congruent to AD. What else? Hyro, can you tell me what? Standard rectangle. Should have known this since you were in second or third grade. It happens to be an actual lesson, but this, at this point, you haven't gotten any of the more difficult stuff. There's something you could say about BE is congruent to what? Well, C is just a letter. BE is a line segment, so what segment would that be congruent to? This is why I need you in class. Alex, what else is congruent up there? A and B are not segments. Again, this is why so this class was going to be off technology today, but boy, it's a rectangle, people. Like one of the most basic shapes you've ever gone through in your life. Say it again. AB is congruent to DC. It's a rectangle. The top side's congruent to the bottom side. Come on, people. Like, I don't even know what to do. I mean, I shouldn't have even needed this lesson to know that. You've been doing that since you were in second grade. I really think that's when you first do rectangles. I never thought it. So now we get into some that are a little more challenging. I'm going to call on who for this? I'll go with Caden first. So the diagonals are congruent. So that's a big one. That's one of the new things we learned moving from just any parallelogram into a rectangle. The diagonals are congruent. So AC, I didn't write the other one down, but DB. I put the congruent marks in. I'll just leave that. AB was congruent to BC. No, there's still more. Wouldn't need 3 letters for a line segment. B angles. So AE would be congruent to EC. And DE would be congruent to EB, because why is that? shorter and equal.
They're both equal.
What is true about diagonals of any parallelogram? This isn't just even a rectangle, it's any parallelogram. Not congruent for just any parallelogram. They are congruent, and that's what the one. Remember, they bisect. So this is a midpoint for those two diagonals. So you got to remember that. That bisects. But here's the one. Well, does anybody have anything else before I move on? Anything else you think is congruent? To what? AE is a segment. We wrote, actually, we didn't write it in. I think somebody said it, but maybe not. So oh yeah, we did right here. AE is congruent to EC, we wrote. Anything else? There is one big one left, but it is the toughest one by far. I don't understand. Not, I mean, hopefully understand. Headphones off. Or me like them off, not turning. Say it again. Say it again. I didn't hear it. So here's what Mia is saying. She's saying, well, CE would be congruent to ED. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, or that, like.
So she's saying this is congruent to that. We've not had a theorem for that before. Nothing that says, like, E being a bisector doesn't mean that. That is true. So here's what you need to understand from this, and this could come into play. Like, this is like what I would consider the challenging part of a quiz. Not, I told you there's an easy section, and then there's ones that separate the C's from the B's and the A's. If DB is congruent to AC, we have it right there. So this one's true, right? The diagonals are congruent. So they're the same length. But we know that they get split in half, right? So I'm splitting BD in half, which means those two are congruent. Well, if this is the same length, I'm also splitting it in half. So if these two are equal to each other, when I divide this by 2 and divide that by 2, I'm really dividing the same number by 2 because they're the same number, whatever it is. If this one's 10 and this one's 10, when I divide it in half, I get 5 and 5 and 5 and 5. I don't care what number you plug in there, it's always going to wind up being the same number all the way around when you split it in half. If this one's 20, well, then that one's 20. Well, when we divide them both in half, we get 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. So in a rectangle, because these are congruent, the diagonals are congruent, and because we have a midpoint where they connect, all of those smaller segments inside are congruent. So unlike the other parallelograms where we did something more like this, and we said, okay, well, there's 2 sets of congruent segments. There's really just one set in a rectangle. Yeah. So that's a different jump than all the other shapes other than a square. But it's one that I could somehow bring into play on the quiz for sure. All right, so turn in your pages. What page are we? $39, maybe. Try 39. I'm going to put it up on the board. Pretty quick lesson today. Well, for you guys, though, it's a short class, so you won't have as much time to practice, but you'll have a lot of practice time. Tomorrow will be your big practice day. We might I might skip a little bit of the lesson today. You were here last class. We tore these pages out last Monday. I know you've been here one day because I got mad at you about leaving to go to the mentor thing. Not mad at you, but I mean, like I said, I need you in class. All right, so we're on the rhombi and squares thing. So we're now, just like we've done every lesson, we're gonna add a couple more things to what, and I'm kind of just gonna go over some of them, but so for there's one more new addition, one main addition for when we go from a rectangle or a parallelogram into a rhombus or a square. That main thing is that the sides are all congruent, and that's for a rhombus or a square. So a rhombus is a shape it's like a square that's kind of like shifted a little bit. I'll just draw one. It won't be perfect, but we can probably do a pretty good job because of these. That's not perfect because the sides are definitely not the same length, but all the sides would be congruent in that also. That's a rhombus. So square, rhombus, all the same properties of any parallelogram. So the opposite sides are parallel. The opposite angles are congruent. The opposite sides are congruent also. It just so happens that all the sides are congruent in these two figures. In a square, you can see that there's all right angles. I'm assuming you know that. So these would be congruent. What else is true of all parallelograms besides opposite sides, opposite angle being congruent? What was the other big one that we used? Opposite sides, what? Well, yeah, opposite sides are congruent, but what's the other one for the one that I said is the tricky one for all parallelograms? They are symmetrical, but that wasn't like a specific. This one's a specific stated theorem. Give you a hint. Has to do with those two, not opposites. So if they are consecutive next to each other, basically they add up to 180. That's all parallel. And that would certainly be true. So the two new ones that we're adding in for a square or a rhombus is that the diagonals, when you draw them in, are perpendicular. So if I draw in a diagonal there, same thing here. Where, oh boy, that was not, I missed it, but that's fine. The cross, the angles where they cross are 90-degree angles. So 90-degree angles all the way around. So all of those are 90 degrees, same way in a rhombus, if I drew it perfectly, which I didn't. All of those would be 90 degrees as well. Not just yet. So that's one of the new things, that all those angles are 90. Again, rhombus and square only, not every parallelogram, rhombus and square. What about the next thing? Diagonals bisect the opposite angles. What's that telling us? What's bisect mean? Not just crossing each other. Bisect is a very, say it again. In equal. It cuts it in half. Bisect is always two equal halves. Could be bisecting a line segment and you get two equal line segments. If it's bisecting an angle, you get two equal angles. So this angle, how am I going to do that? So there's two little angles, I guess I'm going to have to show. So those two angles would be congruent because they got the bigger angle that was this got split into two equal angles. It would also be that those two are congruent because if the original angle, the big angle, was congruent opposite each other, when you split both of those in half, all those little angles are going to be congruent as well. And then the same thing would be true in the other two. These two angles, or these four angles, would also be congruent, all of them. So that's really the big thing. I mean, the fact that these are perpendicular, I guess, is important. But really, the bisecting of all the angles is going to be the big one when we do from doing the problems in the last class. All right, so here's what I want you to try to do. Using those concepts right there, these two, those drawings, whatever you want. Oh, shoot. I can't. You have this problem. I'm not going to scroll up just to leave that on the screen for a second. I'll scroll up in a minute. Try to do example number 1. Try to set it up. The algebra is not super difficult. Try to set it up and use the information they gave you, which frankly, it's not a very good problem. I'm going to give you a better problem that I would use. Because that is so funny. I guess we'll be on technology for a while, or no technology for a while. Again, quiz grades were okay. I was going to let you off because of those, but apparently people think that they're already off of it. They know. I didn't. So again, we'll try again. We'll see how you do on this quiz. And in class. You can come in at lunch and do it. I want you to try to do some of this problem. I'll let you go in a minute. I'll actually tell you what, it's probably better to just go ahead and go, and by the time you come back, we'll be doing this. Yeah, so go ahead. Go now. I need your phone though.
It's on this charge.
All right, make sure you bring my back. What? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I want you to do this then. So let him go, and I'll work with you and check your answer. And then when he gets back, you should have been done with it. Not sure if he'd be able to do it. You should be able to.
No.
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 Oh, I see what you did. It's your algebra. Your setup's fine. You did the wrong algebra. Check your algebra. I'll give you like 30 more seconds. And then I'm gonna have to scroll up and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, you should be able, this one actually, you did not even need to know this was a rhombus. This would work for any parallelogram. You just needed to know it was a parallelogram. So the fact that it's a rhombus doesn't even really come into play, which is why I don't like this one, which is why I'm going to give you one that's a better one. Got it? I'm going to go ahead and go over it right now. All right, so I'm going to get rid of all of that so that we can see it a little bit easier. All right, so we have this figure. LM equals 2x subtract 9, KN equals x plus 15. Those are line segments. That's the first thing you need to make sure that's the first thing you need to make sure you remember is that we are talking about segments. There's no degree symbol. I'm still getting people confusing when we're talking about the length of something versus the measure of angles. Thank you. You might have been, but I don't think I didn't see it.
Oh, no. No,
I didn't think he was looking down. He wasn't touching. Although I do see some of you that don't have papers out, so that's another thing that I don't get. When I'm going over specifically what's going to be on quizzes, and I don't see anybody with any papers out. Again, if you all had a 100, then that'd be a different story. But I mean, I'm not going to get mad at you for not having papers out, but your quiz grades are what gets you off of stuff. So if you're able to pick it up without doing anything, I guess. Fine. This is just about opposite sides. I like writing the stuff into the figure. X plus 15. So again, any parallelogram, this would work. I don't understand why they have this in a section that is specifically about a rhombus and a square, because that doesn't even use a rhombus and a square. What do we know about any parallelogram that we can use in this? Which sides for any parallelogram? Yeah, in any parallelogram, the opposite sides are congruent. We don't need to know that it's it has nothing to do with the fact that it's a rhombus, just that it's a parallelogram. It would have been a little better to say this side was x plus 15 over here. That would have made sense because a rhombus, all of the sides are congruent. So that would have been a little better, which they didn't. So that would be more like maybe what I would do. So instead of putting it down there, I might say this side is x plus 15. That's a little better. At least you have to understand that all the sides are congruent. There's another one that I like even better that I'm going to give you in a second. First, let's solve this one though. So if that's x plus 15, again, there's only really two ways to possibly solve. You either add them together and they equal a number, or they equal each other. There's no other number, so it can't be add them together and they equal a number, not if it's about sides, because we can't say they equal 180 or any of that when it's about sides. So we've got to set those equal to each other. The only possible thing that we do. All right. So now here's where some people are still struggling on the algebra. If you have variables on both sides, you've got to think about it as getting rid of the variables on one side. So we get rid of a variable on the right, which means we've got to do the same thing on the left. That gives me x subtract 9 equals 15. Now I want to just get the x all by itself. Equals 24. Good timing. So David, now if you want to go ahead, although I am going to go over a problem that is going to be similar to something I like better than this one. So what's the other principle of a rhombus we learned besides the fact that all the sides are congruent? Those two up above. What's the two new ones we just learned on this page, at the top of this page, pretty much? So here's what I like. So I'm just telling you, thinking about the properties of a rhombus and what you would need to know. Here's something I could see me doing, or something similar to this. I want to utilize that. Oh, take that. I want to utilize that fact that you're bisecting angles, because only a rhombus has the diagonals doing it. So what I would probably do, and I think there's one somewhat similar to this on the next screen, I might say angle LMN is, I don't know, 50. So that's that angle. I might then say angle KNP. Wait, can I do that? Yeah. Is 4x plus 9. And I'm going to say solve for x. I want you to try to do that. That one is much more difficult conceptually and maybe a little more difficult as far as the algebra goes. Not real algebra wise, it's probably actually not, it might be easier algebra wise if you can get the geometry concept you need. There's a couple concepts you need. I'll let you work on that one for a couple minutes and I'll probably give you a little hint. And you can try to finish it out. So LMN is 50. I want to know KNP. So in 1 minute, I'll give you a hint. Keep thinking about it. Think about what we just learned. That's a big part of it. But you also need to think about what we already know about parallel events, all parallel events. They actually have another example coming up that uses some of the same stuff. They solve it in a different way than I would solve it personally. But I just made it up, so I have no idea what the answer is. We're gonna solve it together. I guess I can tell you if you were right. Hold on, let me see. So that would be that, and that would be that. That would be. So that equals 65, subtract. That would be. Well, that came out to be I think I got a nice round in. Really expected that's. Maybe not. I may be wrong. I just did it in my head real quick. All right, so here's your first hint. Well, your first hint is about angles, so don't try to do anything with the sides. It has nothing to do with sides. So I would write in the way I would do it is I would emphasize in the figure that angle 50 degrees. And I would just start writing stuff in that I knew. Knowing it's about angles, I would start writing in, well, I know that angle, 50 degrees. What can I do next? How so? So it's not about sides, about angles. All angles are not equal for a rhombus. If it's a square, yeah, they're all 90, but not for a rhombus. But no, a square is a rhombus is not always a square. These angles are not the same. These clearly are not 50-degree angles. I mean, that's bigger than 90, that's bigger than 90. Those aren't 50. But every four-sided figure has how many degrees? 360. Every one. And I know what's true about opposite angles. So I do know that these are equal, right? I know those have to be the same number. So if I used a variable, I could say that's x degrees and that's x degrees. So if I know every four-sided figure has 360, I know two of them. I know those are the same number, so I only have one variable. That's equal. You know, there's other ways to do it. So if you didn't have that equation, you might still get the right answer. There's other logic that works. So I want you to now solve for that, and that'll give you your next step you need. And what will x be when you get it? Well, not the answer. Like what does it represent? Not what number is it?
No, I did x's, it would be 2x and then 100.
But I'm saying, what is x representing? I used x as a variable. What is that variable representing? It's the measure of one of the other angles. The measure of one of the other, or it's really the measure of both of them, but they're each. So you have that same number twice. So go ahead, solve for x. Should hopefully know what to do from there. If not, I'll just solve it out. I'll tell you really quickly what you need to practice, and then tomorrow you'll just be practicing.
I'll be there tomorrow.
Did you get to practice it at home? I do have, there's a little more to the lesson that we'll wrap up with tomorrow. Are you done?
Oh, never mind.
We're inside of 10 minutes. Actually, somebody's out.
I can't bend.
Oh, do I have your phone?
Yeah. So how's your day? Pretty good.
How was my day? Other than yelling at you guys, pretty good. My flag football. well, not yelling, getting on you about practices. Yeah. Like, I'll tell you why it's a big deal to me. I'll tell you this. I don't think you do. I don't think you do. No, you don't. I'm gonna tell you why it is. No, there's another piece that I haven't told. I mean, I kind of did, but there's another. That? Nope. It's a personal thing that I go through. That I have to do to girls that don't, like, do you think I want to cut, like, how do you think I feel when I do that? That I have to say, yeah, you, especially sometimes it's girls that I know, it's sometimes students that I have. Girls that played last year, that then we say, sorry, like, that's no fun. And then I get people saying, oh yeah, I'm not gonna make it. Like, I don't like going through that when maybe I could have kept some of them because they would have been there.
You want to get 30?
That is what? That's the value of X. So let's go ahead and solve it. So X comes out to be 130, which means I'm going to kind of get rid of it. Is anybody still writing any? I mean, you should have had that a while ago. So I'll just get rid of those in the equation. So we solved it out and we said this angle here, that angle is 130, which means that angle 130. So what is it that we're trying to solve for? Oh no, I still have it up there. What are we solving for? So K and P are really X, but we need K and P, right? So how do we solve for a K and P? Because we can do that now. We can come up with a number now for K and P. We haven't solved for it. X I created. I should have used Y probably, but I just created it because it was an unknown. This was an unknown, so I just used X. Technically, I shouldn't have used that because X is part of that equation, but it was just an unknown, so ignore that it was X. So how do I solve for K and P? Nope. Is this K and P 130?
You add the 4 and 3.
Well, you don't, well, once you divide the 130, like, atoms.
Why? How do you know it's in the middle? What we just learned. The diagonals of a rhombus bisect every angle. That's why I like this problem, because it brings into play something that's actually specific to a rhombus. So I know that if these are the same measure, because again, the diagonals bisect all the angles, now I can say, well, K and P is 130 divided by 2. So it's 65. So that's what K and P is 65. Did you say 65? I don't remember.
Right.
Oh, you do divide it in 2. But I want you to understand why. Like, you can't go based on it looking like it's in the middle. Like, that's the definition of a rhombus. It bisects, the diagonals bisect. Now you should be able to solve that. That would be X. And I could, again, take it one step further and say, what is the measure of an angle or something like that? We already figured out K and P in order to solve it, so I wouldn't have asked you about that. There would have had to have been something else. In this case, it's just solve for X. Finish that, and I'll tell you what problems you're responsible for the quiz on Friday. Tomorrow will be your practice day. Yeah, go ahead and get all that written down. I'll let you leave a couple minutes early, but yeah, if you can't answer my questions, then let me go. Especially the question I asked. Again, which is why you need to be in here and not leaving earlier to go to that. That's you saying you don't understand does not make me want to let you leave. You're saying that to try to enforce your argument, that doesn't work. You should have gotten, what is that? 56 divided by 4 on 14?
That's a lot.
14 was X. So you should have gotten 14 for X in my problem. That's not that problem. Here's your problems you're responsible for on the quiz. On page 32. This is the rectangle stuff, I think. Page 32, there's a check. Like after one of the examples, there's a problem that says check. I like that one. Page 35, 1 through 14. Some of them are super easy, too easy really, but I just assigned them all. So page 35, 1 through 14. Page 40, there's a check, and then also example 2, kind of example 3, I guess. That's what the check problem is about at the bottom. So page 40, the check problem, and then example 2, and then page 43, 1 through 10. So that's what will be on the quiz. And you'll practice that tomorrow.
I think.
When you go on. And you will have a new lesson on Thursday, so tomorrow is your practice day.
Yeah. No, I goes on something.
Yeah, tomorrow is your practice day, the new lesson on Thursday, and then the quiz on Friday. Although you really aren't gonna need that much time for the quiz, you're not gonna need a full period, so we may somehow we'll do something. Yeah, put in the quiz grades your quizzes or your grades are up to date for this class.
I got 10%.
Oh, unless you did a retake. I think I do have a couple retakes that I haven't finished either grading or putting into focus. But as far as the quiz that we had that had the 3 grades on it, that one's in there now. Some of you there were several people that got 3 100s and their grade went way up. 3 100s. That made some people jump 1 or even 2 letter grades.
That's that.
Hmm?
I think I'm gonna come to that.
There was somebody, I believe, in this class that got 3 100s.
Man, see you tomorrow. We'll be here.
What do you guys have in problem?
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's, they're supposed to, I thought, take pictures. But oh, can you tell everybody to bring their,
I got time to run my game on this.
I still, people, I don't know if they're not joining or not, but I only got like 8 people from yesterday that gave me all their stuff.
Looks like you're not getting the. I can get it. For the longest time I didn't get it.
I can't resend it, but it said you can only send it once. Apparently there's something blocking some people from online.
Yeah.
So I don't, I figure out another way to do it. But for now, then just make sure everybody brings their emails. I forgot to get your 20
I live
emails.
in Burns stuff. You're good.
Tell them on the chat. Yeah, exactly. I know. Tell them on the chat that I'll be collecting emails tomorrow. I'm sorry, today. Yeah, it's gonna be a working.
Yeah,
process.
that's like.
Yeah, she was out there before. She left before she got out there.
Oh, it's
That's
literally.
why we didn't do anything with her. But I guess we still need to get her the email somehow, so. I'll collect them and. That, this coach didn't remember we were practicing late. I guess, I mean, or maybe he just couldn't come later.
I'm not gonna lie to you, no, this is me. Oh, I'm gonna go.
Yeah, she was, I guess, in and out of there fast.
My phone is not.
Supposed to take 3 kids, we're just trying to. So I'm the first one. It's someone else.
Watch the video, practice, I think we did. Oh, yeah, this stuff here. If you want to take a picture of that, the stuff in red up top, has to be drawn. The videos were probably the best, the last review video right before the quiz.
Just this one or that other?
Oh, wait, hold on, now I'm misremembering. I don't even have the old. Oh, wait, maybe I do. Okay. Here. Those triangle inequalities. Which I don't think is up. That one's not on, so that's hinge there, and it's not on there, so it's not, we did it in class, but. So 389, that was definitely. 385, that was definitely on there. 385, 389. I think that was probably it from these pages, but we also did what's in purple on them also. So yeah, these and then yeah, that's pretty good.
Thank you.
Yep.
Carlos, you pissed me off. She got so mad at me over a jersey number today. I was like, Chuck.
Who did?
I was like, I want to look at the she's like, no, I been called it, da, da, da. And
There's only one person I can think of that would do that.
she
Leslie
gave
did?
me attitude. I was
Well,
like,
first of all, nobody calls it.
yeah, I was like,
Nobody calls anything. I tell you what jersey number you're gonna get. You're gonna earn your order. Which question? That's 128 there. They would add up to 180. Yep. Yeah, nobody just says I get it because I called it. We don't know. You earn it. So.
wait, what?
What about these questions?
Are these ones, they start away?
Home,
Home and
I
home and away?
believe is away. It's weird because it's the opposite of what we used to do for
Wait,
basketball.
so we just don't wear the same jersey?
So that would be the right setup.
Ew, look at that, that's disgusting.
Are those old jerseys?
Ew.
Coach just gave those to me in.
We need new jerseys.
Jeans, Perez,
I'll get
or
one made for him.
I believe it.
Bro,
Yep.
that's a medium.
Oh, let me see.
What?
This
That's an extra,
I think
extra
it's
small.
done.
Bro, that's a medium.
So X is 58, but then
Did
it's
you
a
think?
lot.
This is a medium.
That's,
This is a child's medium. Bro, look at this, this is nothing.
Yeah, I don't even know what.
No, I didn't do that.
we go to do.
We don't have new uniforms.
Oh, big. I'll get someone to make.
Right?
Yeah,
Like,
we're-
people just sweat in those, like, that's literally what they,
Well, I gotta tell him or
you
send
gotta
him a
find you a
text.
clean one, Chanel.
Make sure he brings out flags for all of us, because we need to use flags today. Instead of two-hand touch. That's why we need New Jersey. That's why we need 20 emails from all of you so that we can get some New Jerseys. Is that what you wanted, 15? That's not. I don't think anybody's gonna fit in that. That looks like it's a Pee-wee jersey. I don't even think Kimura would fit in that. That's easy. I mean, I guess it stretches probably, so maybe. Actually, you know,
See some brown in there.
the smallest person on our team is Aliana.
You guys even watch those after?
Like, have you been watching? Learn to speak
I have
these
not done anything. I just got them yesterday.
Yeah, they have to do a lot.
Hey, I don't know who washes jerseys or anything.
I don't
I think you guys keep the jersey all year long. So you're responsible for washing your own jerseys. Hmm? Which one?
Oh my God, what I had was like.
The one that I just put in with the 3 grades or
Yeah.
that one up there?
Well, you could put it,
All right, which piece? There's 3 grades on it.
the triangle thing,
Triangle inequality.
yeah, I don't know how I did that with that. Of course, I did good with those parts, so. Like,
All right, so that's only really the first page, the first 3 problems, I think.
Mr. Gill, do you have some food?
wait,
Not tons of food.
one more, Mr. Gill.
That's not it. Where's the-
The only thing I got
There it
for
is.
baptizing from somebody else is the truth.
And a flour and chocolate.
All right, well.
That's coming here.
Flour and the chocolate.
All right, so all you have to do,
And
Right.
both are the pot.
I was gonna bring, but.
wait, you're doing 2 of them or 1 of them?
Two, all gone to try.
Right, so
See you.
I mean, this is a long.
Bye,
quiz.
Mr. Gill.
I gotta get them both done. If I'm grading it, and that counts as a retake, you start. I see you, ladies. Hey, tell everybody to bring emails, even though I know they're not gonna have them.
Which one is polygon?
Polygons, there's number 4 and number 5. Well, actually, 4, 5, and 6. So you're sure you can do it? That's 6 questions you gotta do in 20 minutes.
No, I got you.
If you're doing both of those, 1 through 6. The triangle, are you doing triangles also?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 6 problems.
That's 6?
Yeah. Four.
Those fourth
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The only 2 that are not the problems.
Okay, I think.
So are you going to do both sections?
Okay, yeah.
Once you start a section, it counts as a retake, which means that if you don't finish it, you won't do well on it. And then the next time, if you get a chance to retake it, I make you do more prep work. You want to try to do a second retake. First retake's kind of a freebie. Second retake, you're gonna have some work to do before you take it. So you're gonna still try to do all 6 problems. All right.
It's 5, 6.